We made it. Look at that
Hi.
face. That was a pretty amazing face. Yep, that one too.
This one?
I'm impressed.
This one? This face?
I'm impressed. No, your face.
This face?
No.
Isn't that my face?
No, that's not your face. There you go. You're not pointing to it though.
Man, I
Fantastic.
wish
Actually, you
I
know
wish
what?
I could get that
That is
form,
kind of
that
your
mouth
face.
form.
That was designed
I'm
after
so
your
good at it.
face.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Even the eyes are like a similar color of what my eyes are.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that face is gonna go hide behind the Zergling.
All right. Cool. Yep. As long as the Zergling's in front, I guess. That's.
Yeah. And
If the Zergling's happy, everybody's happy.
That's true.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep, well said.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is the show that's Wednesday. We have a special edition of Don't Worry Wednesday today because it's Ash Wednesday. So I hope Ash is here, or at least shows up, because then we can make a little pun, because it's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why we have these black dirty foreheads, right?
Yep.
So yep. So it's Ash Wednesday. It's a great day. It's the beginning of Lent, and which is an exciting season if you're into fasting and penance and almsgiving and stuff like that. Yeah,
it's great.
It's good. So
I'm excited for it.
What's that?
I'm excited for it because I'm into those things. But
yes, me too. I like Lent. Lent is a good season.
It's one of my favorite seasons of all time.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's my favorite season.
There's an awful lot of purple around in the churches when you go to them.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, purple is what's used for royalty, so it's good.
Yeah, and morbidity.
Oh yeah, for sure, that too. And people turn purple when things aren't right with their body.
That's true. They do.
Purple's a pretty good color.
Yeah.
Wait. I mean, I guess it tells us stuff.
It's a very expressive color. Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, so welcome everyone. We're excited to be here with you. Hopefully you're excited to be here with us too. But we love hanging out with you guys, spending time on Wednesdays. This is a show that's all about you guys, stuff you guys be going through, stuff that you guys might have already gone through. Or any topics that you feel like sending us. You can go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and we would be happy to do your topic. So after you click the submit a topic button, you have to fill out the little form. You can't just click the button and then whatever you're thinking, we won't know it unless you type it out. So make sure you take that step. But we are not professional therapists, counselors, or anything like that. We just want to be your friend. We want to help in any way we can as you journey through whatever it is you're going through. We want to offer mostly love and encouragement, and we can offer some perspective. Ryan and I, between the two of us, we've been through a lot of different stuff in our lives, and that's really the only qualifier that we have to do this show, is that we've dealt with some stuff, and so we can relate to when you're going through some stuff. So so like I said, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and we would be happy to do whatever topic you send our way within reason. I think there have been very, very few that we haven't done.
Yeah, true.
The only time, most of the time, like if we haven't done a topic, usually it's because somebody submitted a topic and they wanted to be here for it, and then they just never showed up again.
Yeah, that was more of a reason of not doing a topic than anything else. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you do have a topic, you can feel free to let us know you're here, and we'd be happy to do it when I see you're here. We also have an anonymous topic. We've got one from Kat. We've got a couple from Hutsu. I see you here. Yeah, awesome. So we're going to have a good show. It's going to be great. So I forget, was there anything else I needed to announce? I don't know. Ash is alive. You're amazing.
Welcome to Ash Wednesday.
Welcome to Ash Wednesday. Don't worry, Wednesday.
Don't worry, Wednesday, Ash Wednesday edition.
Yes, yes. I was hoping you'd show up so we could make that pun. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great to see all you guys. Yeah, thanks for being here. And Princess, Princess, it's great to see you pop up in the chat too.
That's what we were forgetting. We didn't put any, hey, go to the topics. How to do the website thingy.
Oh yeah, we didn't put that up.
Yeah. Thanks, Princess. I love you. You're great.
You're awesome.
We appreciate you.
So, yep. Like I said, we're not professionals. And also, if you want to reach out to us on Discord, you can feel free to do that. I can put a thing up there that we'll see our Discords. There you go. You can reach us on Discord if you want to chat with us. We'd love to hear from you guys. You're awesome. So yeah, it's a great day. How you guys doing today? How are you doing, Ryan?
Doing great. Today's a great day. I like today. It's been great. Good job today. You did it.
Good job.
Yeah, how you
today. Been? Fantastic. It's been a busy week already. BSS is doing a lot of fun stuff. We expanded our artist roster again. And this week we have our first international release coming out from a non-American artist on our roster. Jono Taylor has a song coming out this Friday. It's under Taylor Anderson because this is a project that he and I have been working on. But this particular song, this first one that we're releasing, was all Jono. And it shows. And he's amazing. He's so awesome. Like, I can't wait for you guys to hear this song because it's really, really sweet. Joe, I should tell everyone what's special about today besides Ash Wednesday. Don't worry, Wednesday. It's special.
That's right.
We're here. It's great.
You should tell him what you gave up. You gave up for Lent.
No. That's personal.
Okay, fine. But it was funny.
Ash, yes, you are right. Today is my birthday. Today's my birthday.
He gave up birthdays for Lent, so he's... Yep.
So I'm not getting any older.
Yeah, that's right. That's how you do it all these years.
Thank you, Ash. Yes, you remembered. You're amazing. Thank you. Meow remembered. Ash, I feel so special. You guys are great.
You are special, man. We love you.
Well,
everyone loves you, man.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah. I love you too.
Yeah, you make a good influence on all of us. We all appreciate you.
Well, I hope so. I hope I do okay. But thank you guys very much. Hey, it's okay. I don't remember either unless I put it on my calendar. It's funny, like I get a Google notification. Your birthday's tomorrow, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I've been there, except for like it's the day after. I'm like, oh. Usually what happens is my mom will call me and she'll be like, happy birthday, and I'll be like, is that today? Oh, I guess it is. Sure? Thank you.
Are you sure it's my birthday?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So, okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I love you. I love you guys. Well, let's get going, shall we? What do you think? We should do a topic. Ash, you say you're gonna be popping in and out, so I'm guessing if you're gonna be in and out, then maybe we ought not to do your random facts topic, because you said you want to be present. No topics. All right, cool.
Cool.
We gotcha. So we'll move on. We've got I see we have Win here. We have Hatsu here.
We have two Anonymi. I don't know if
Yep.
And then
yeah. So we can start with wins.
We have one in here that I'm not sure who it is, and I've never seen them in the chat, so I'm curious.
Cell?
Yeah.
CEL. We have a topic from you.
Yeah, topic. If anyone wants to own up to that, you said you wanted to be present. and it would just be nice to know if that's another name for, your YouTube account is not the same name as what you submitted. So it would just be nice so that we know.
Mm-hmm.
We can do yours.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. But all right. So the first one on this list, Kat, are you here by any chance? Because that's also a topic. Kat also has a topic that she wants to be present for as well. But win. All right. So we'll start with wins. This is called impact and intention.
Mm.
Hatsu, yours will be next.
Yep.
And looks like you've got two. We're gonna let you choose which one. So we'll start with wins. Impact and intention. Let me I will get it up on the screen here.
Sounds like a good topic.
Yeah. And oh no, you had forgotten that you submitted this topic. Oh no.
Oh no.
That's all right. So this is called impact and intention. And I will read it aloud for you guys, and you can read along. This is from Win, and it goes, how do you right a wrong that has impacted more people than you thought it would? I never meant to hurt anybody. And this is from Win. So how do you right a wrong that has impacted more people than you thought it would? Ooh, I have been in that position before. That is there where guilt can kind of roll in. You do something, you make a mistake, or maybe you intend to do something, and then the collateral damage around hurts more people than you intend to, or it has an impact and affects people in more ways than you wanted it to. You just start to see these ripple effects that go out. And it really kind of is the same with a lot of our actions. You never know how far the ripples might go. And that's one of the reasons why it's good to think about virtue and living with virtue. Ryan talks a lot about pursuing virtue as a pathway to happiness in life. And that's absolutely true. And one of the reasons is because as you pursue this, you're still never going to do it perfectly. And even when you do the right thing, it can still impact people deeply all around you. Sometimes the right thing hurts, and it hurts a lot of people, and it's hard. And sometimes it's hard for them to understand, and you have to go through and explain a whole bunch of different things, and maybe they're not ready for an explanation, and you have to wait. And it's nuts. I've got personal experiences with that. Yeah. How do you right a wrong? That's a good question. And how do you write it for all those people it affected that maybe you didn't even realize it was going to affect? So I'm really excited to hear what Ryan has to say. I know he knows about this on a theoretical level, but I don't know if he's ever done anything wrong. So
yeah, guys. Well, not. Yeah, no, I'm definitely had this experience. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, maybe I'm lying. Maybe I'm just lying right now. That way, this will be my first sin. Yeah. But anyhow, when you can rewrite that message, just don't swear. It's fine. Not that it's interesting because the word that you chose to use isn't necessarily considered a swear everywhere. So it
Biblical,
just is what
man.
it is.
Words in the Bible. It's Ash Wednesday.
Donkeys are not allowed. You are not allowed to say that word. You replace the word with donkey, and it's fine.
But I think that's
anyhow,
actually a mule.
Is it a mule?
I think so.
I mean, you could be right. I didn't know.
I don't know. We could argue. It doesn't matter.
I don't want to argue. I just want to know what it is.
Okay, good. Well, let's not argue then. Ryan, stop arguing with me.
All right, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Anyways, so great. So okay, it's always a really terrible feeling. What you're expressing, when you realize after in the aftermath, that you've hurt people and it went out farther than you intended. Now you might look to everybody else like a jerk, um, or just inconsiderate or whatever. And so you have that to struggle with on top of the guilt of just like, I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't know that that was going to happen. It just happened. Um, Sometimes it was a fit of just personal explosion, or sometimes it was a calculated thing that just turned out wrong. But either way, contesting with this is a very difficult thing interiorly,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not only something you're contesting inside of you and trying to forgive and move on from. You recognize it's out there in the world, and there's other people who have con- preconceived notions of you, and ways that they're looking at you now, and so it's a very difficult thing to struggle with interiorly because of that too. So in those circumstances, for myself, usually whenever I feel like I've damaged something in a relationship, it really hurts me and it tugs at my heart, in a way that just doesn't shut up,
Mm.
and it just goes on and on and on and on, until maybe I make that phone call, or until I reach out to that person and apologize. And when it happens to be a bunch of people, um I feel like sometimes the only thing you can do is, whenever you happen to see them or whoever you can contact that's within your social sphere to apologize to, you make that apology. And as time goes on and you make those apologies, I mean, and talk it out with those people, um, things slowly kind of get better. And in both interiorly and in your space, right? In your social space. Um, and that's a hard thing, because it's like, how do I right a wrong? And the thing is, in life, you can't right a wrong, but you can own up to it and try to try to do good with it and try to be a better person. But the truth is, in life, you can't actually right a wrong, because it's just not the way that it works, right? Um, because what's done is done, right? What's wrong is wrong, and to try to, I mean, if we want to say we justify the wrong, that's going to be horrible. That's
Mm.
never good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if we're trying to turn the wrong into a good thing, well, sure, we can do that to some degree, but we can't make the wrong thing right. And basically what I'm trying to say is, we can't go back in time, so we can't really right the wrong, but we can do our part in forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, um, and obviously there are things we can do for other people, if we want to go out of our way to make amends. You know, um, I think there's a lot we can learn from the ancient world, because we've been alive for a long time. And one thing that people used to do was, I mean, there's a word called atonement. Atonement, and the beautiful thing about that word is it's literally at one mint. It's when you
Mm.
become one with the person you need to atone with, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get on the same page as them, and you're no longer enemies in conflict, or um, dealing with um, dealing with uh, what's the word? I don't know, any interior conflict, right? So atonement often comes in the form of sacrifice,
Mm.
and sacrifice is an expression of love. Okay.
Mm.
And so usually the way we atone for our sins, whether it be in a public space or in a private space with one individual, or with ourselves, or with God, or whomever, um, atonement can come from making sacrifices for that person or for those people. Um, and ultimately that's a like I said, that's a form of love, is an expression of love to
Mm-hmm.
do those things. And so loving people is pretty important. Um, but one thing that is important that I think should be added here, is that if you have the ability to make apologies, don't make apologies. You can explain your circumstances. You can explain why you made the mistake and how you got there.
Mm.
But don't attempt to justify what you did. The more, if you're making an apology, the more you're willing to say, I was wrong, period, the more you're able to express that what you did, you shouldn't have done, and you understand that, the better your apology is going to be, and the more other people are going to want to have mercy and forgive you.
Mm.
um, and that's something that's a bit of a struggle for, I think, everybody at some point in their life, but especially most of the world, even currently. Not necessarily just at a point in their life, but it's the common culture to, when you make an apology, you accompany it with, but you did blah blah blah, and or trying to justify it, saying, oh, it wasn't that bad of a thing, or I
Mm.
had good reasons to do this, or whatever. I think it's much better when you're making an apology to someone or to a group of people, however that might be possible, um, to truly embrace the fact that you did mess up,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
to truly confront that what you did was not the way to do it, and tell other people that that's how you feel about it, is magical.
Mm-hmm.
That is magical. Because I mean, it takes a lot of humility. It takes shooting down prideful thoughts about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It takes the knowing that we can be wrong and that we can grow and change. People who are sincere make these apologies that are sincere, like, hey, look, I'm going to be honest. I did wrong. Generally speaking, those are the people that make the changes in life
Mm.
to be better people, because they're not still stuck struggling with trying to justify something they did, and thus they can't change because they haven't admitted that it's actually wrong yet, right?
Mm.
And so, but being able to say that out loud also is huge, right? Not just the ability to um, contest with that and recognize like you were wrong, and that you're a human being and you can be wrong about things, and you can make mistakes and do bad things on purpose sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
like interiorly, sure, but also, can you say that out loud to other people? Are you willing to admit to other people that you're not perfect? Are you willing to show other people that you've made mistakes? Are you willing to show other people, like, hey, like, I was wrong? Like, that's hard. That's
Mm-hmm.
hard. But if you can do that, see, the fear is that if we do that, people won't have respect for us, because they'll
Mm.
be like, well, that person's been wrong before.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, people already know that you were wrong. People already know that you have been wrong. People already know that no one's perfect. There's no reason to fear that. In fact, if you don't acknowledge it in a public space or to that individual, you lose respect, because people look at you and say, wow, do they think what they did was right?
Mm.
Are they unable to see they're wrong? Like, they're not saying sorry to anybody. Like, whoa, that makes me angry. It's like these are the responses you're gonna get. So it to be able to admit and and even possibly risk the respect of others, even possibly risk the respect of others by admitting that you can be wrong and that you were wrong and that you did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Risking that is still worth it, because generally the payout is going to be people respect you for having the gall to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And people look at you as that's the kind of person that can change things. And but even if they do lose respect for you, it's still worth it, because in that moment you're being you're moving forward. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In that moment you're moving forward. I'm sure everyone can relate to a time where they've hurt somebody, and until they've made atonement with that person, it feels like they're stuck, and it rises in their brain just just like, oh, you really messed up that time. It's like, and you're so frustrated, and sometimes you don't even know why you're frustrated. You're just like, your interior is all a mess, and you're like, what went wrong? Why am I held up here? Why is my brain going 200 miles an hour about this issue, and I don't even know what the issue is? I just know something is wrong, and I don't know if I did wrong or they did wrong, or maybe they wronged me. I don't know what it is, but my brain is freaking out. And until you connect with that person, it feels like you're at a standstill. Until you can start to talk it out with that person, it feels like you're going nowhere. And that's true for this case. And I said it's better to risk losing respect of others to move forward, to make that call or whatever it is. Just before I got on Don't Worry Wednesday, I made a call to my brother and had to apologize for something I said over the meeting yesterday, which was unnecessary. Um, and and then we talked it out, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry for pushing your buttons. I totally realized that I did that, and had no intention of doing that." And so we basically just apologized to each other and worked it out. And that was right before Don't Worry Wednesday. And I was worried about that. I was thinking about it like all day long, and I couldn't stop. So my point is, it's important to apologize. And how do you right your wrongs? Sometimes you can't, but you can still ask for forgiveness and show that you're willing to change and try to make sacrifices, whether that be doing things for people, um, or making time for people or whatever. You can do those things, but sometimes you can't. And so all you can do is try to change and try to be better.
Mm.
And one moment, and the ability to change, a lot of times for people, hinges on their ability to be honest with themselves and honest with others around them, and truly speak it out into the world that, hey, what I did was wrong. And I can't negate that. I can't justify what I did. I'm not going to attempt to try to justify what I did. What I did was wrong, and I should be a better person. And that's what I'm going to be. And then we can move forward. So that's what I got for now. I hope when that was helpful. I also, if it's all right, you said you forgot you posted this topic, so it sounds like to some degree maybe you've moved on, and I want to know if you want to share any of that about your process. But if not, you don't have to. Just throwing that out there to give you the respect and the floor to help others who might be experiencing this as well, in case you have to some degree solved this, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you so much for letting us speak on this one and asking. But I'm going to give it over to Joe and see what he's got to say. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Well, I hope it can be helpful for sure. Thank you, Ryan, so much for what you've explained, and Win, thank you for the topic. This is not an easy thing to go through. I put in the chat, I hate knowing that I've hurt somebody. I hate,
Oh,
especially,
yeah.
like even if I'm angry and I did it on purpose, you know, after kind of like I settle down a little bit and I come back and I look at the aftermath of what I did, and I'm just, I feel horrible because I hate hurting people. I hate that, I might cause somebody pain. It doesn't feel good to know that I perpetrated a wrong on someone and they're suffering because of it. And sometimes it's because we made a mistake. Sometimes it's because we got mad. Sometimes it's absolutely unavoidable. Sometimes you just go and you do things and you do the right thing or the best to your ability. You try as hard as you can and people get hurt anyway. It's kind of like anytime you stir up controversy in any way, shape, or form, there are people with hurt feelings on one side or the other. We experienced that recently with one of our cover art for one of the songs that we did. And because of the picture that was there, it really upset one person in particular and that person's family and all kinds of stuff. And there was threats of lawsuits and all kinds of stuff. And, then there's there's demanding of royalties, which is laughable to me, but whatever. At any rate, you do something, and if it's gonna create any kind of controversy, somebody's gonna get hurt by it. Somebody's gonna get emotionally hijacked. But it's interesting because that's a spot that you can make changes in the world. You can raise awareness for certain things, and it's controversial and people get hurt, but sometimes it needed to happen in order for that thing to move forward. There's lots and lots of movements that have gone on in history that have been controversial with people that are really upset on either side and crazy. One of the hardest moments I've dealt with that relates to this type of situation was when I filed for divorce, because I knew, there's not ever a good time to file for divorce.
Sure.
Ever. When you do that, it's going to hurt people. Even if it was the right thing to do, even if, you've exhausted, all of the things, like crazy, when you're at your last resort and this is the last and only thing that you can do to try and salvage the situation, which is basically where I was at, people are going to get hurt. And I remember just feeling so helpless because I knew this was the right thing to do, but I also knew how much it was going to hurt my kids. And there was nothing that they could do to stop it from hurting them. It was basically like being stuck between a rock and a hard place. We either continue on and it hurts everybody over time, or we do the divorce and it hurts everybody right now and probably over time as well. But either way, the situation was hurting. It was hurting a lot of people. And I'll never forget, very shortly after I had filed, and then everybody found out about it, and it was kind of blowing up, and my son was really having a hard time, and I remember him crying and asking why, and there was nothing I could do to comfort him because I had done it, and I couldn't explain to him why. I couldn't explain it because I was legally bound. Like I couldn't. If I had said something, I would have been breaching the language of the legal paperwork, right? Because to explain what had happened would have been disparaging of their mother, which I can't do. And I don't want to do anyway because I want my kids to respect their mom and I want them to love their mom and I want them to have a good relationship. I don't want, just because between her and I had some funky stuff going on, I don't want that to damage the relationship that my kids have with their mom. So when he's asking me these questions and I can't answer them, that was one of the most helpless feelings I've ever felt. And I know that there have been other times when I've done things that have hurt people. And sometimes you just feel helpless. Saule said something very, very important here. Where was it? There's been some more stuff in the chat. Admitting that you're wrong is the first step in repentance. Repentance is what's necessary to move forward in a positive way. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Admitting you did something wrong. Now, what do you do if what you did wasn't wrong, but it was still hurtful? You can still apologize. And I remember going through this with a friend of mine that I knew, and they had done something, and they didn't do anything really wrong, but what they did hurt another person. And so I asked them, I was like, well, did you apologize? And they're like, no, I didn't apologize. I didn't do anything wrong. And I'm like, but they got hurt. Did you intend to hurt them? No, I didn't intend to hurt them. I'm like, well, then you can say, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I didn't intend to hurt you. And now that's very different language from, I'm sorry you got hurt. There's a difference. If I say to somebody, hey, I'm sorry you got upset, or I'm sorry you got hurt, that's saying, I'm sorry that you did something wrong by being hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's not a good apology.
I'm sorry you got emotional about
it.
I'm
sorry that you got all upset, like blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I never meant to do that. I'm so sorry. And so how do you right a wrong that's impacted those people? Well, Ryan said, if you can apologize, then that's something you can do. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes all you can say is, I'm sorry, and I wish I could explain it, but I can't explain it because legal reasons, right? Or whatever. There are those types of situations, and sometimes things happen and we get hurt, and maybe it's nobody's fault, but there's a bunch of people hurt. And we can always try and be comforting. We can try and be understanding and, sympathetic to the people that are hurt, and try and help them. Try to comfort their pain, I guess. But if someone sees you as the person who caused this pain for them, then you probably need to be prepared. They might not want an apology from you. They might not want to talk to you. They might want you to just leave them alone. And so sometimes that's the best thing you can do. If you try and they're like, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you. And then, so as painful as it is in those moments, the best thing to do is to give them some space. Because, sometimes we do things and it just pulls the rug out from under people and it hurts. And there's nothing we can do. And that can leave you feeling very helpless. So one of the things that in order for us to move past something that we've done that's wrong, Saule hit the nail on the head when he said repentance is key. And you don't have to necessarily repent to the people you've hurt. I would encourage that if you can, to apologize to them, and hopefully they'll accept your apology and things can move forward, but they might not. So what I try to do is repent in my heart. And if it's something that is really bothering me, I'll bring it to confession. I'll take it to the confessional and confess it to a priest, because then I know I'm kind of repenting. I'm getting it out. I'm saying I did something wrong here, and I recognize that it was wrong, but I did it, and I'm sorry. And when we repent, even if we do it silently within ourselves and it's sincere, and we say, I was wrong, I'm so sorry, I never want to do that again. I'm going to try to never do that again. When we repent inside, that's the first step to being able to forgive ourselves for that wrong that we did. And that can be a really difficult thing to do. The hardest person I ever have to forgive is myself. Because I'll stay mad at myself forever. I'll beat myself up for a long time. I can come up with all kinds of great, painful words and phrases and write them down in my journal to myself. I'm good at it. It's one of the things
Don't
I'm
be
a
good at that,
professional at.
Joe.
I'm really good. Um,
No, be bad at it, please.
oh man, it's a good thing you don't read my journals.
Yeah, I guess
There,
it is.
there are very few people that have read any pages out of my journals. I can count them on one hand.
Mm.
But anyway, we can once we can repent and recognize that we did something wrong, and we know we did it wrong, and then we can resolve in our heart to not do it again, or at least to try our best to not do it again. At that point, that opens the door to self-forgiveness, which then really helps us move forward. And it creates a learning experience. And it also creates the possibility of a stronger relationship with the people that have been hurt. Because a lot of times, like scar tissue is always stronger than regular skin. Like when you cut your leg really bad or whatever, or maybe you need stitches or whatever, and then a scar forms, right? That scar, that tissue is stronger. And so a lot of times when something happens in a relationship where somebody gets hurt, and then there's the time when we're upset with each other, and then we make up and we apologize, we repent and forgive and everything. After going through that painful experience, I've seen so many times the relationship getting stronger as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens it's really amazing. It's so cool how redemption is possible.
Mm.
Because even when we hurt somebody or hurt ourselves or we're hurt by somebody, when we go through this process of being hurt, repenting, forgiving, trying to mend the situation, what happens is a stronger relationship in many, many cases. And it's beautiful. So even though right now it might feel like, oh, this is super painful, or right after we do something, it's super painful, and we recognize that we've hurt people. And so inside it hurts us because we feel guilty and we know that we did something wrong. And guilt is an appropriate emotion. There are religious leaders out there who say you shouldn't feel guilt. And I don't agree with that. Because when we do something wrong, guilt is appropriate. We should feel that tug on our heart.
Oh, for sure.
We should feel, because that's our conscience telling us. I mean, if I never feel guilty for the things I do wrong, what's that say about my conscience? Doesn't say much about it. Like I've seared my conscience to the point where, hey man, I can just do whatever wrong and it doesn't matter. Like I don't care. No. That that doesn't lead to a very good life, I don't think. But anyway, you may never be able to right the wrong per se. But you may be able to redeem the wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Might not be able to make everything right. But what comes as a result of going through this process may be something more beautiful and stronger than it ever was before. And that can give hope. That can give us hope. So Win, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're having to deal with this because I know it hurts. I know how hard it can be, and I know how helpless you can feel. And I'm sorry because it's not an easy thing to go through. But I'd like to offer you a branch of hope that maybe through this experience, you can be stronger, the people affected can be stronger, possibly your relationship can be stronger. Good can come from these things, even when we can't see it in the moment, especially sometimes when we can't see it in the moment, because when we're in the moment, it just hurts, right? And it's hard to see, like, okay, well, what good could come out of this? And then after it goes through its course and time goes by, and things kind of smooth out, you're amazed. And you're like, man, we'd never be where we're at today if that painful incident didn't happen. We'd never be here if this painful thing didn't happen. And it happens in personal relationships, it happens on like a global scale, happens in society as a whole, with issues that affect lots and lots of people. We've seen it happen so many times when some painful event happens and then it ends up being redeemed and we're stronger and we're so glad, even though that thing was so painful, we're glad for the redeemed result. And it can be really beautiful. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say about this topic, Ryan?
Just a tiny bit, and I thought that was beautifully said. So thank you, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Really, what I want to do is just read some of the comments because Win said she hosted a party and sent an invite to everyone who they hurt to say sorry to them personally, and also talked with everyone separately without using the word sorry, she wrote.
Mm.
And the reason they didn't say sorry is because they don't like the word sorry because it's overused in current society. And I said, that's fine. It's kind of understandable. And I think that saying I was wrong is a very good I'm sorry. Also, if you want, you can stretch the word out to its full meaning and say I am sorrowful. Because when you say I'm sorry, I think a lot of times people get that word, that phrase wrong. Because like when you say sorry, people are like mean to say like please forgive me. But the root of sorry is sorrow.
Right.
When you say I am sorrowful, that should be how you feel when you say I'm sorry. That should be the meaning of your I'm sorry. When you go in and you say I'm sorry to someone, I think it's way better to say, hey, I'm sorrowful that happened. I'm sorrowful that any of that happened, right? I'm sorrowful that I hurt you. I'm sorrowful that I made that stupid decision. I'm filled with sorrow because of this. That's important. It shows your interior and your vulnerability and your willingness to move on and that you really experienced the wrong as wrong, right? And one of the main things that makes it hard for people to accept apologies is when we can't tell if the person is sincere or we can't tell if the person actually experienced any bit of sorrow. When someone gives an apology to us and it doesn't seem like they're sorrowful at all, it's really hard to accept that apology. Because we're like, it doesn't sound like you learned your lesson. Like you didn't even feel bad for doing that crap. Like, and now you're telling me you're sorry. It sounds to me like you want to repair the relationship, even though you don't even know, or you haven't even felt an inkling of guilt. Like it seems like you don't know what you did and how bad it was, right? And so when you can come out and say, I'm sorrowful, and you can be honest with that, people resonate with that. People resonate with that because they're like, okay, this person feels bad. They legitimately feel bad. And that means they recognize how they hurt me. They recognize how they hurt themselves. They recognize what they've done and that it's bad. So being able to say, I'm sorrowful might be a way better way of saying I'm sorry. Especially since you're right, Win. I'm sorry is used so often, and so. I mean, I'm an offender. I'm a first class offender that I say I'm sorry all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I get not wanting to use the word. But anyways, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, Win, and I think that to me, honestly, holding the party and doing all that, I think that's spectacular. I think that that's really, I mean, that sounds like you made a sacrifice. You went out of your way to, hold a party, which costs money, it costs time, it takes guts. and then you apologize to people and to people of the party and individuals. That to me sounds like you really did your job well, at doing your best there. I hope that they can forgive you, and everything moves on, as Joe said, maybe even to a better place,
Hmm.
than would have otherwise been. Um, Not that we should ever purposely hurt people, thinking, "Hey, maybe this will be better in the end if I just hurt them,"
Yeah,
but
no, no, that's not.
it's definitely not their message. But um, yeah, when I think it sounds like to me like you went above and beyond, and you tried hard, and I think that's wonderful. So thank you. Thanks for sharing, both your topic and, sort of your walk through it.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Win. And you posted up there, Hatsu, you're so kind. You said that Joe is so wise. And then Win said, they do
Mm.
say wisdom comes with the years. It's true if you're open to learning.
That's true. That's a really big qualifier. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wisdom can come with the years. Wisdom really, I would say, comes with XP.
Yeah.
But you got to
EXP.
be open to the XP because I've met people that are 18 that have been through horrendous things in their young age and they have tremendous wisdom. People in their
Hmm.
early 20s,
Oh yeah.
tremendous wisdom because of things
Oh
that
yeah.
they've experienced while growing up. And it's incredible to me. And then I've met old people who are absolutely set in their ways and they are not wise.
Mm. Yeah. Exactly.
But because sometimes people, they get set and they are against learning, and so like the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. In some cases that's true, in some cases that's not. I've met older people that are even older than me that are still open to learning and they're learning new stuff, and it's cool.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
cool to see that. It's great. So as long as you can stay open while you're going through these experiences and open to learning, open to growing,
Yeah. I really like
yes,
that.
you can
Hmm.
gain wisdom, through these experiences. And it's weird, like almost the more painful the experience, the more wisdom is available to us, you know?
Sure.
The bigger the bomb that goes off in your
Yeah.
life,
The bigger the boss
the
battle.
yeah. The more XP is available, not necessarily, it's not automatic. You got to be open to the learning experience, right?
You're right, Meow.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Hey, Hatsu, I'm 29 and I'm still stupid. That's okay. I do lots and lots of stupid stuff. Just, if you could hover in a BSS meeting, you know, you'd see Joe's stupid tendencies on full display.
We're all stupid. Don't count us out, man. We can be stupid
Oh,
too. Come
yeah,
on.
that's true. That's true. That's true.
It's-
Nyansai, I really like that. Unallocated skill points.
Yeah,
When
that's great.
when you're not open
I
to
like that.
learning, when you go through these things, and that those skill
Hmm.
points just they're there, they're
Yeah,
available. How are you going to allocate them?
that is such a good.
Mm-hmm.
That's clever. I like that a lot.
Very, very good. So anyway, thank you so much, Win, and thank you for opening yourself up with this topic. It's not easy to admit that when we do something wrong, it's most of the time, like Ryan said in his first part, it's a lot of times people will just justify what they did, and they'll try and show everybody that they didn't do anything wrong, that they did it right, and everybody else has the wrong idea of what they did that was right. And they
Hmm.
just think it's wrong, and I've seen that so many times with so many different people, in myself even,
Hmm. Oh
you
yeah, I've
know
done it. I notice when I do it, and I'm just, God, I can't believe I did that. That was
yep.
stupid. I broke my rule. I really like what Saule said. You don't have to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to defend yourself.
Right. Sometimes just to humble yourself and to say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. That's all you need to say. And sometimes that's all you need to say in order to soften someone's heart toward you. I think, Ryan, you described this, like just to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I didn't mean to hurt you, will go so much farther than to say, I'm sorry, I did my best, I thought I was doing it right, I did this because of blah, 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 and explain why you think you did it right. No, sometimes it's best to just leave all that out and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I didn't mean to hurt you, I never wanted to hurt you, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And that goes so much farther. But Win, you're awesome, and we all make these mistakes. Sometimes we make those mistakes on purpose. Sometimes we make them by accident. But hey, we all make mistakes, and repentance is available, forgiveness is available, and what you do within yourself to repent and to forgive yourself, I think, is one of the biggest, toughest battles, but it can also help you grow the most. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And hopefully it's helpful. So Win, you're awesome. Let's move on, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Again, this is Don't Worry Wednesday. Saule, thank you for posting the link. If you have a topic you would like us to discuss, submit it at don'tworrywednesday.com. And we'd be happy to do your topic. So we will move on to Hatsu's. Yes, your topic time. So which one? Do you want why join Don't Worry Wednesday or self-discovery? I'm guessing self-discovery because that one's marked urgent. That would just be my guess. But self-discovery. Aha! Yeah. I guessed correctly.
You guessed correctly, Joe.
Man, oh man, guesser. Look at me. Wow. Thanks, Ryan.
You're welcome.
The best. You're the best.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Oh, I'm so impressed.
I know I can pick out who's the best guesser. It's my talent.
Yeah.
I'm not a good guesser, but I can really pick them out. You're the one, Joe.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to put the topic up and then we can read it. So this is called Self-Discovery and it's from Hatsu and it goes like this. I want to figure myself out, but I don't know how. And that's from Hatsu. I want to figure myself out, but I don't know how. You know what?
That's a perfect topic summary.
I'm with you. I've been there. Why isn't the thing up? Let's try again. Have
you tried restarting your computer? I'm just
If I do that, everything's gonna go dark, man. Let's see. Maybe it'll show up now. Is it gonna show up now? Come on, show up. What? Well, maybe if I restart Snaz, it'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I will get that figured out. Unplug and replug. Yeah, just Alt F4.
Yeah, Alt F4. Did you try Alt F4?
Did you try Alt F4? Like that's the key for all of those things, right? Yeah, so I want to figure myself out. I don't know how. I've press F13.
Yeah, that's great. Press
is that
F13.
one too?
You know, Saule, there actually is in computers. It goes all the way up to F25 or F26, but they're not buttons on the keyboard that are traditionally there. But some keyboards, you can actually get them that actually go up to F26. Yeah. Yeah, but most keyboards you will never find at F13, so that's going to be a bit of a struggle for most people.
Mine just goes to F12.
Yeah, it's common.
Yeah. I don't have the F13 button. I can't fix it.
You can't fix it. You're gonna have to get a new keyboard, sir.
Dang it. Okay, well,
Go to
my computer's
Amazon.
just messed up this whole time. Actually, I fixed it. It's up there now.
Cool.
Restarting
Good. Let me do your topic.
it was snazzy. We did it amazingly. But anyway, yeah, I want to figure myself out, but I don't know how. And this, this is going to be a lifelong journey for all of us. Our
Sure.
our lives are a journey of self-discovery in a lot of ways. We figure
Mhm.
out a lot of things about ourselves, and we figure out things about other people, how other people operate. There's all kinds of books and talks and videos and TED Talks and, movies and documentaries and classes you can take and courses you can buy and all kinds of stuff of people wanting to teach you what it is that you may or may not know about the world around you. But the journey to figuring out yourself, man, I think we just figure out a little bit at a time, and from my experience so far, it's going to last until I die. I'm going to be figuring out stuff about myself until the very end, you know? And I'm going to be learning stuff about myself. Now, the more I learn, the better, clearer picture I get of, what makes up me and myself. But sometimes I learn something and it opens up a whole new can of worms, and I feel like I've got more to learn than ever. It's a weird thing. But yeah, I am really excited to
Mhm.
hear what Ryan has to say about this. He's got a really level head on his shoulders, and he's, good to talk about this stuff. I mean, look at that.
Still
You
level.
you meant to do that.
That's right.
You meant to do that on purpose.
That's right. I did.
But you look
All
good.
right. Thanks.
Hey. All
Huh.
right.
Huh. That's what I look like from this angle. Okay, anyways. Um yeah, this is a good topic, and I really like what you said, Joe. Life is a journey of self-discovery. Um Being human is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I've said this briefly before, and there's so much more that could be said about it, but being human is truly strange because we don't pick who we are. We discover who we are.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
true.
along life, we as along the journey of life, we continue to both change who we are and discover who we are simultaneously. It's a really strange thing. And I think a lot of times we stop discovering and we settle. And what I mean is we start to say, we start to stop trying to figure it out.
Mm.
We start to give up on really identifying ourselves and trying to understand ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that looks like someone who just says, well, that's who I am, without giving two fluffs about how they're affecting other people around them, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that can be someone who who has perhaps a lot of raw emotional outbursts that they don't seem to figure out why they're happening, and they just keep on doing it. And it's like you haven't learned why you're doing it. You just keep on doing it. Um, so I guess there's a lot of symptoms that one could look at someone and say they've given up on truly trying to understand themselves. But I think probably better to spend time trying to figure out or how to relay how to discover oneself.
Mm.
Um, when you go through life, you're going to experience emotions, and you're going to have to question, why did I feel that emotion in the first place? I mean, someone says you're stupid. How do you feel? Question that. Um, it's rather strange, but if someone calls you stupid, you might feel offended. But there are people out there who, when you call them, or when they get called stupid, they have a different feeling attached to it. You might see that they laugh about it
Mm-hmm.
instead. Or they might say, "What do you know?" and just move on. And they don't even care. It's like that didn't even faze them. They weren't offended. Like they're not held up over that all day long. Why am I held up over that all day long? And so part of understanding yourself is noticing how you feel when you encounter something, when you have an emotional experience, and to question yourself why, what is built into me that makes me think or perceive this as an offensive thing, right? Uh, that's great, Win. Good luck. I think that that's pretty common, actually. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and so that's one way of figuring out who we are, but that's only a small depth of who we are. Um, you know, as I was saying, when we are really just reacting to ourselves, we don't pick what makes us tick a lot of times. Certain things just make us tick. Like, what gets you fueled up for work or for play? What makes that play fun for you? What about the experience did you enjoy? You might like a video game, but why do you like that video game? And is it actually the reasons you just listed? Or is it something deeper? Because a lot of times it's something deeper. It connects with a core part of the way that your self works.
Mm.
I could say, well, what I liked about it was that I could design my character how I liked, and that was cool. But there's some more to it than that. There's something deeper than that. And that is, well, why do you like designing the character? And why did it feel good that you got to play as the character you designed? Like, that's deeper. And you start to ask those questions. It's like, well, I find myself in life to be attached to the ability of innovation. When I can come up with something that no one's ever come up with, that excites me. And that's a core part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to know that took a lot of experiences and sort of digesting them, right? And then learning that has helped me, okay, now that I know this about myself, how can I apply it? How can I take advantage of the way that I work and interiorly so that I can apply it in my life and know what I'm going to like and not dilly-dally with things I know I'm not going to like doing. Or alternatively, how can I get myself to move work wise or productivity wise, or how can I be more creative? And knowing these things about yourself can help you know your route. But it comes a lot of times through experience. But if you don't take time to digest your experience, you're not going to learn much from yourself. You're just going to go through it and learn nothing. And so to digest that experience, what I would say, what you need to do is sometimes you got to take time to ask yourself questions about yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's tough.
Yeah. And sometimes that results in journaling. For some people, that helps. Some people, it's not journaling. Like for me. Um, some people, it's and try different things. Some people, it's sitting down and playing music or writing lyrics out. Um, or some people, it's even just pacing back and forth. Some people, it's going for a jog. You know, that really gets them in the mindset of self-reflection. Um, so, um, it takes time, but it's important to take time to examine your experiences, examine how you're feeling. And it's not always about what you're experiencing in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you can't unpack what you're experiencing in the moment because there's too many variables and there's not enough information of past events to truly get at it. Sometimes it's not unpacking what you're currently going through.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's about unpacking what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
and why you picked the choices you picked. And so there are going to be times where you're going to go into this self-discovery mode, and your process is going to be like, well, right now I'm facing these issues, and you're going to try to solve them and try to figure out, why do I feel this way, and blah 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 blah. And that's good, and that's important to do that. But that might not result in understanding yourself better, because you haven't come out on the other side of it yet. You can maybe sometimes dig around there and find nuggets to help you understand yourself better. But I find more nuggets if I can think back even further about my past experiences. Because when you're in the cyclone of trouble, right? When you're drowning in the whatever, like when you're drowning in problems, it can be really hard to separate yourself to be able to look at yourself. Does that make sense? So part of self-discovery is recognizing something really strange about us. Like I said before, we discover ourselves, which means we're already a thing that we're outside of ourselves, looking backwards in and going, who is this? We don't decide. There's no control over, just like, we didn't pick who we are, right? We didn't decide, like, oh yeah, I'm the kind of person that blah 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 blah. Maybe it was our choices along the way that got us to be that kind of person. Maybe it's built in from an early childhood experience when, like, we were 2 years old, or maybe it's just something innate in our personality and our gifts as a human being. But one way or another, our brains are weird, because it's like our conscious mind looks back on ourselves and says, that's a person. And then it starts to digest, what is that person? What was that person doing? What is that person like? It's so bizarre. Being a human being is incredibly bizarre, because it feels as if we're not a single unit. We're almost outside of ourselves, looking backwards in and trying to understand, why did we have that reaction to that statement that they said? Why did we feel that way? Why on earth do I like this type of thing, this activity, or this type of food, and not the other? Like, we are learning about ourselves from an outside perspective. And so you have to be willing to go outside of yourself. And that can be really hard to do when you're caught in a really troublesome moment. When you're experiencing an onflood of emotion, it can be very hard to step outside of yourself, because that emotion is so powerful sometimes that it prevents you from truly stepping away and saying, hold on, I'm going to detach myself from these emotional experiences and just look at myself and start asking, why are you feeling that way? Why are you doing this? Why? Like, to ask those whys. It can be really hard to step outside yourself when you're struggling with an emotional overload. And so that's why I'm saying, sometimes the best time to do that is really when you're at peace. And that can be hard to find. In fact, peace is one of those things that I think it's one of the most valuable resources and the most sought after experience for human beings, and the most rare to find. Peace. But people who've learned how to find it often. Peace can be found amidst the struggle of battle. Peace can be found amidst the turmoil and amidst the reality of pain. But to find that peace is sort of a journey in itself. And it's sort of manifesting the peace once you find it and studying it and really digging into that. And making that a part of your life. And I know that's really generic. Um, and there's a lot more to be said about that, but that's a whole topic in itself.
Mm.
Finding peace.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to go into it, but um, my point is, you have to ask yourself why. You have to ask yourself, why is it that you find yourself doing this?
Mm.
Why is it that you seem to be attached to this thing or that? Should you break those things? Should you counter those things and refine who you are? Sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is, well, that's not possible. Um, and so you just go on this journey of self-discovery, asking and discovering who you are from an outside perspective a lot of times.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, you can do that in the midst of turmoil. You can do that in a struggling moment. And I recommend you trying, because that is where you will find a lot of answers. But it can be overwhelming to try to do that if you've not lived a life of doing that a lot already. If that's okay for me to say.
Mm.
If you've not lived a life of introspection where
Mm-hmm.
you're always asking yourself why, it can be really hard to get to the solution of anything um, while you're amidst an emotional overflow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's actually better to start with peaceful moments. Maybe right now is a peaceful moment for you while you're listening to Don't Worry Wednesday. And and right now you're probably already learning things about yourself. I mean, I'm sure a lot of things on this show have probably taught you things. That's why you come back, right? And part of that is self-discovery, because you're learning about how it is to be a human being. Um, you're learning, hey, I used to think this about the world, and now maybe I'm thinking this way about it. Um, and these are great things, and they are also part of the journey. So, if you want to figure yourself out and you don't know how, you got to spend time with yourself, and that can be a troubling place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But if that's a troubling place, you're learning something about yourself. And that thing that you're learning is that you don't like yourself,
Mm.
possibly, or that you can't handle yourself. It might not be that you don't like yourself. It could just be that you can't handle yourself. And you have to figure out how to take the reins of your own horse, of
Mm.
yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and start to master yourself, because at the moment when you dig in there, it's just a burst of wildness that can't be tamed. Um, Not that we should be entirely tamed in the first place, but to
Mm.
really understand ourselves, we have to talk to ourselves at the least.
Sure.
And so to enter into that dialogue, that interior dialogue, you know, um, I can't quite remember everything about the facet of this, but who we are a lot of times is decided in the quiet moment.
Mm. Mm.
Who we are a lot of times is decided in the quiet moment. And there's several meanings to that. But when you're in the bustle of the city and you're talking to someone and you walk away, you're walking down the street, immediately that inner self starts to speak. As soon as you close off the encounter that you're in and you're by yourself, even though you're in the midst of a street, you're walking downtown, your mind is buzzing with things and you enter back into yourself. And in that moment, it's sort of a quiet moment because there's nothing calling for your attention. And in that moment, um, how do you speak to yourself? What are the questions you're asking when you're walking away from that encounter with that individual? Are you worried about how they took you, or are you worried about this or that? What is on your mind in that quiet moment? The more you have that on your mind, the more that you become a lot of times. Um, and so it's important to decide for yourself who you want to become. Because discovering yourself, figuring yourself out, isn't always just responding to yourself. noticing yourself and responding to it, trying to figure out, why the heck did I just do that?
Mm-hmm.
Part of self this part of figuring yourself out is also deciding for yourself who you're going to be.
Mm.
And that comes in the quiet moments, as well as the loud moments, right? Who am I going to be in this moment when things are going crazy? Am I going to be calm, and am I going to do the right thing? Yeah, those are important. But if you can't be those things in the quiet moment, well, then you're not going to be able to be those things in the loud moment.
Mm-hmm.
You have to practice in the quiet moment what you plan to live out in the loud moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of figuring yourself out is partly you don't know yet because you haven't decided. And sometimes you got to make those decisions. And those decisions are important.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they define you, and they define how other people will receive you and the kinds of things you'll do for people or not. So, yeah, anyways, I think it's incredibly important, and I think this is a really important topic, and it's a topic that I feel like we could talk about for hours.
We could.
So I'm not going to. I'm going to pass that on to Joe. And I know I already said a ton. But yeah, there's so much more that could be said. So anyways, I'm going to give it over to Joe, and I'm excited to hear what he's got to say.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Hatsu, for the topic. I mean, this is
Mm-hmm.
great. I mean, it's it's kind of vague, so it gives us a lot of directions that we can
Yeah.
possibly run in, but it's also very important because this is a lifetime journey, and I love how Ryan was talking about. I wish I'd heard what Ryan said when I was younger, because
Mm.
like, figure out in the quiet moments how you're going to respond, because that's like practice time, right? That's like time when you
Mm.
can plan for, okay, I'm not under the gun, I'm not making rash decisions, I'm not, like under pressure and having to make some snap decision or respond quickly, you know? And so, but in those quiet times, you can start to learn to guide yourself. Now, I will say there is not really much substitute for being in a moment and figuring out how you react, right? Because sometimes things will hit you, and even if you planned on doing that, now once all the emotions are in there and like the pressure of the situation is in there, I've had it happen before where, yep, I plan to do this, and then those plans just go right out the window because now my emotions are involved, and like, it can get really tough. So part of that is then in the next quiet moment after this thing happened, you can look back and you can
Mm-hmm.
be like, okay, now I see how I did with all that swirling emotion and these people yelling at me or whatever was going on, right? Like whatever high stress situation was happening, not a quiet moment, right? You're thinking, okay, now I saw how I responded. How could I have done that better? How could I have done that differently? How could I have fill in the blank, right? And Stephen Covey said something in the book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talked about the main difference that humans have that's different than animals is that between stimulus and response, we have choice. An animal that operates on instinct doesn't necessarily have choice. They may have some small degree of choice, but mostly they're driven by instinct. And you see this when you're training a dog, you're programming them to make different decisions, and you're doing this through over time through reward or punishment or whatever, right? You're training them to respond a certain way by them getting rewarded for doing the right thing, right? And so that trains them to do the right thing. They get to choose because instinctually they want the reward, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as humans, we can make the choice and be somewhat more free of instinct. Now, instinct can compel us to respond a certain way, for sure. And sometimes when we're in the middle of something, we just maybe have a knee-jerk reaction where we just react to the thing,
Mhm.
right? And that's a good thing to pay attention to in yourself, because I like to think in terms of, okay, how can I respond to this situation rather than how can I react to this situation? There's a difference between those two words, respond and react. When we
Sure.
react, it's like we just instinctually, like our instincts take over, we get fight or flight, maybe our limbic system of our brain takes over and we just react. We do something. A response, in my, when I hear those two words, responding is more like taking into account different factors, making a decision, and then acting as a result. Right? That's, in my mind, that's the difference between a reaction and a response. So many times I've just simply reacted to things happening. My emotions get the better of me. I get angry. I get sad. I get whatever happens, right? And then I react. I start crying. I start yelling. I start, whatever. Who knows? And then later I can look back on that situation, and sometimes in a reaction, we can hurt people.
Totally.
Much like what we were talking about in Wynn's topic that came before, where, talking about how to right a wrong that we did that hurt more people than we expected. Sometimes I've done that where I didn't even think. Something happened and I reacted, and a whole bunch of people got hurt. And then,
that's how it usually goes.
Yeah, now I'm stuck in the aftermath of this whole thing, and I got to apologize. I got to make amends to people. Sometimes I got to pay money. Sometimes I got to, give away stuff. Who knows, sometimes these things can have an effect. And so if we can train ourselves to keep calm in those emotionally charged moments, that can be really, really helpful. But there's no easy path to being able to do that. The path is to expose yourself to those experiences, right? To those experiences that are emotionally charged and they're hard to deal with and all this kind of stuff, right? Like that's the only way you develop a calm demeanor in those moments. Is by experiencing those moments and then looking back at them and thinking, okay, how can I do this differently next time? And so there's really no easy way to doing that. But as far as figuring yourself out, that's just one aspect of figuring out how you respond to things, how you react to things. That's one aspect. There's all kinds of stuff that makes up the wonder that is you. There are dreams, there's hopes, there's goals, there's attractions, there's appetites for different kinds of foods and, different things to drink and, like what kind of smells do you enjoy and what kinds of feelings do you enjoy and, do you like the adrenaline rush of going on a roller coaster, or maybe that makes you sick. Maybe you like to spin around on like stuff like merry-go-rounds that are really fast and you like to do that kind of thing and throw up all over the people and stuff because that's fun for you.
It's super great. No, that is a really good point, though. I like that you say it because there's so much to who you are.
Yep, so much, and you're gonna discover things your whole life. Your whole life. I am still discovering things. Some things require therapy.
That's right.
To discover. So if you're really feeling stuck in some area of your life, I recommend therapy. A counselor, somebody to talk to who knows how the brain works. Because sometimes we just get hung up and we can't move forward. And it's like, I don't know what to do. And here's the other thing. Don't always trust a person's opinion because they're louder or older or have a bunch of degrees on the wall or whatever, right? You can take what someone says and understand And it's tough. I think the younger we are, actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, I've known people who are older that just take people's opinions at face value and believe them.
Hmm.
We just trust that people know what they're talking about. When you know what, honestly, a lot of people don't know what they're talking about.
Right. They're
And
repeating
some,
information that's not even true.
and
They
sometimes
have no idea where they got the information.
sometimes the more confident somebody is that they know what they're talking about, that's a red flag to me to say they don't know what they're talking about.
Mm.
So I just learned this stuff. And, you know, I talked last week, or actually probably the last 2 weeks, about this revelation I came to with anger. And a lot of that came about because I realized that most of the people who told me what they thought didn't know what they were talking about. But I trusted them because I was younger. I was a kid, right? And so I listened to them and I trusted them and I just took what they said and thought it was the facts. And then I got older and I discovered they didn't know what they were talking about. They had good intentions. They cared about me, they loved me, and they were doing their best, but they didn't know. They didn't know any better. And so sometimes it takes living and experiencing and gaining other perspectives to learn some things about ourselves. I recently learned, like I talked about, I learned about harnessing anger. I learned about another emotion. I learned about the emotion of heartache and heartbreak and how to harness that power. I'm still figuring it out, but I've got a really, really good direction. And it was funny because I started having these things where I'm learning this stuff and I'm like, I wrote in my journal, like, there is no emotion. There's only power.
That's right.
And I told that to Jono, as we were working on, getting his release set up. And we were just talking about stuff. And I was like, yeah, I wrote this in my journal. There is no emotion. There's only power. And he's like, dude, you sound like a Sith Lord right now. Like, you sound like.
It's so funny because it's like meant to be like good.
Right.
It
Yeah.
sounds like just the quest for power.
Right. Yes. Like this dark, it's the dark side, there's no,
Hmm.
it's just power. Right. But truthfully, there's energy. Right. So I learned about anger. Right. I can harness anger. I can take that energy and I can direct it at anything. It's really good for tasks. It's really good for getting things done. Anger is great for that because I can charge myself up by getting angry and I can direct it at my to-do list. I can look at all the things we've got to do and I can just get to work. And I can use that energy to drive me to work, right? Heartbreak's a little different. That's a little bit more debilitating at times. We get this sinking feeling, this empty sinking feeling in our chest and in our gut. And it feels confined there and it's just like, it just hurts. Somebody does something and it hurts so bad. And, we end up with this just empty hole in the middle of our chest and just sinking feeling, right? And what I started to do was I think we keep it confined when we fight against it because it doesn't feel good. And when something doesn't feel good, we fight it. It's kind of natural.
Hmm.
And so when we fight this feeling, it just gets concentrated in this area. But what I've been learning to do is allow the feeling. And I picture like a gate opening up and letting that feeling just flow throughout my whole body. Instead of fighting it and trying to keep it confined, I just let it course through my whole body. And that energy is great for performance. And I'm talking like singing performance, instrumental performance, stuff like that. I found that energy to be most useful to me in those kinds of moments. So I'm still learning these things about myself and I'm like trying to find, so I'm in the studio today and I got vocals to do. I need to break my heart so I can feel this feeling and have a good performance, right? So I need to think of something that hurt me really bad. And so I can think of, I can use my brain and I can draw in my memory bank and I can be like, oh man, that really stinks. That hurt my feelings. And then I can start to feel the feeling start to go. And then I start getting excited, which will like counteracts the thing because I'm like, I'm starting to feel the feeling. This is good. I'm on the right track. And then I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be heartbroken, not excited. Okay. And then after that.
That's funny. That's great.
So anyway, but these are things that
That's relatable.
we learn over time, right? And there's a use. You know, every experience we go through, whether it's positive or negative, whether we see it as positive or negative, or it feels good or it's painful, every single one of those teaches us something if we're open to learning. You'll learn stuff about yourself in those moments. And what Ryan talked about is so important. Reflect. Introspect. Inspect yourself. Ryan doesn't journal. That's okay. I do journal. That's kind of okay.
That's okay. It's good.
It's, you know, I saw in the chat somebody, I don't remember who, and I can't scroll up, but going for a walk outside. I think it was Meowlido. Said, can you go outside? Can you spend some time out in nature? Can you spend some time by yourself, just walking, thinking? I remember doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great time for introspection.
Mm-hmm.
Really helps a lot of people.
Yep. I remember getting hurt so bad. It was a new kind of heartache that I'd never felt. It was about a year and a half ago. I hadn't experienced this one before, and I remember that when it came down, and I was just heartbroken, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and so I went walking in the woods. I went walking in the woods. I was by myself, and since I was by myself, I could cry, and the squirrels were making fun of me for crying, but I didn't care because I couldn't understand what they were saying, and you know, like whatever. Like,
Those talk funny.
They do, man. They got this little chitter chatter thing going, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I know you're laughing at me because I'm crying, but stop it. I will eat you, squirrel.
Eat you, squirrel. Have you ever heard a squirrel bark?
A squirrel bark? No, I don't think I've
Yeah,
heard
I
a
actually
bark.
witnessed a squirrel barking. Yeah. It was very angry. It wasn't very intimidating, but it was very angry. And it was
okay.
barking. Like, yeah.
Was it barking up the wrong tree?
It was barking down from a tree.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sorry to interrupt.
No, you're totally fine. But here's the thing. All these things will help you figure out who you are. And so it's okay. I see that question. I love it. I want to figure myself out, but I don't know how. I can relate with that. But I've learned a little bit how to be open to learning. And I've learned a little bit how, like what Ryan was talking about, to ask myself questions, ask myself why. Why do I act this way? That's interesting. So this happened and I responded by doing this. I wonder why that is. And I want you to, there's one thing in this that I want to help you try and avoid if I can. And that is avoid the labels.
I agree completely.
Avoid labeling yourself and avoid other people labeling you as well. Oh, you're just a hothead. You're just a scrappy little dude. You're just a whatever. Like I heard all these things, you know, well, yeah, blah, 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 blah. You know, you're an angry person. You need to fix that. Blah, blah, blah. You got this going on. You need to fix that. You're a this and you're a that and you're whatever. No, you're a person just like them. and just as unique. Just because you're different doesn't mean you necessarily have a problem. Just because you're different in a way that somebody else doesn't like doesn't give them the right to label you and try and group you and pigeonhole you into some kind of category that maybe makes no sense. No, forget the labels. You're you. And you know what? Doggone it, you're trying to figure yourself out. How dare somebody who's not living inside you try and tell you that they have you figured out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, seriously. Don't label me. Well, you're just a disruptive whatever, blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Okay, fine. What does that mean? That means anytime I'm here, I'm going to disrupt you.
Great.
I'm here to disrupt your day. Right? But, you think about that. My therapist doesn't label me. She doesn't say, you're this, you're that, you're blah, blah, blah. She asks questions. Why do you think you felt that way? Why do you think this? Why do you think that? And she'll come up with adjectives for me, that, I am an artistic person, because I'm creative and stuff. And she, there's encouraging things, that she'll say, you've got strong propensity for leading people, and you work really hard, and these different things. These are aspects of us, but she takes great care to not label me and say, oh, you're a workaholic, or you're a this, or you're a that, right? Because once we have a label assigned to us, we feel compelled to live up to that label.
Even if it sounds good, like to say, oh, you're a leader. It's like, well, now, like, that's a good aspect of you. You have good qualities that could make you a good leader. But to label someone, well, you're just a leader, and then that totally sets you down a path because you want to fulfill that and you want to uphold that. It can be very difficult.
Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily who you are. It's not your place to be. And so now you're going down a wrong road because you bought into someone's label. So, yeah.
Yep. And it can make it for a really, really tough thing to deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, you're going to be learning for the rest of your life. And so, as you're learning these things, it's okay to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on that. I'm working on celebrating when I learn something new about myself. I was up at Steve. Steve was up at his parents' house helping them with some construction project. Steve, our BSS president, and we had to do a photo shoot for our next single that's coming out. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going up there. We're gonna do this up there. And I mean, I'll use any excuse I can get to go to Traverse City because it's so beautiful up there, even in the winter. But I remember talking through this with him, this whole emotion, and learning about how I can handle heartache and heartbreak, and like how I can, work with it, and, like how I can use it as a power. And as I'm talking about it, I'm getting excited, like we're celebrating. And he's like, dude, that's incredible. That's awesome. That, because I feel that heartache too. We all feel that from time to time. And if we can take that energy and use it for something, oh man, you can take one of the lids off of you right now. And you're like, hey, how high is the sky? The sky's the limit, right? So anyway, I hope I didn't discourage you by saying you're probably never going to have it all figured out about yourself, because that can sound discouraging. I will say instead, you have the opportunity to learn about yourself from now until the end of your life. And so there's a lot you can discover. There's a lot you can learn and be excited about. And if you don't like something, you can learn to change it. avoid also the saying that Ryan was talking about. Oh, that's just how I am. That's just who I am. I'm a this, I'm a that, and I'll do this, and this is how I am. And if you don't like it, that's your fault. No, no. We have the ability to change and to grow and to learn and make adjustments and to refine ourselves. Really, really cool. So I've talked for a while now. Now it's my turn that I've talked for a while. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan and see what he's got to say. Yes, till the end of time.
Mm-hmm. That's
Mm-hmm.
right. You know, I think, Joe, you did a beautiful job of really explaining a lot of different things. And yeah, I mean, labels, that's huge, especially in our modern society where everyone wants to label everybody
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, even just apart from the LGBTQ community, you have other things that have been going on for a long time. Just as like calling you stupid or calling you smart, calling you whatever. These can be attributes, but they shouldn't be labels. And I think that that's really well said.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to emphasize that. Yeah.
You're awesome.
And also, yeah, on your, it's amazing to be a human being, and it's a beautiful thing to encounter yourself. You are a force in this world. You are a force in this world, and you will do things that will ripple throughout the rest of time.
Mm-hmm.
And the better we understand ourselves, probably the better chance we have of that being a good ripple, right? By nature. But the beautiful thing is that you are such a force of nature, a force of existence, that you aren't born into this world knowing yourself. You're born into this world and you discover yourself. Is that not a beautiful thing? That's worth searching. There's more to us than just our body, than just our mind, than just our spirit. And that's incredible. And so to take on the adventure of your life, I think a large portion of that is self-discovery. Because we're a person to be contented with. We're a person to to be respected. And we need to see ourselves from that lens. Because I feel like otherwise, the ripple you might put out into the world might be at best shallow and at worst terrible. Right? And so I think it's absolutely beautiful that we're born into this world not knowing ourselves. But instead we inherit the journey that all humanity has inherited, which is that we must discover ourselves and then utilize that. Use what we discover. Use what we discover. What we discover our talents are. What we discover our natural attractions are. What we discover our enjoyments are, or our delights, or what we whether we like math and we like doing math things, or sorry, maths if you're from other crazy parts of the world that don't know how to speak English. And then I'm just kidding. No, it's a fascinating and wonderful thing, and to find out what fascinates you, to find out how you tick, what makes you tick, it's an honor. It's an honor to be a human being. Or it's an honor to be an existence which has not known itself, but comes to know itself. An existence which is so large and so beyond us that we can spend our whole lives trying to figure it out. And at the end of it, we probably didn't figure it all out. But what we did do was figure out some things and used it throughout our life to make a lot of great things happen. And so I just want to say that, and continue Joe's point at the end, it is quite an honor to be a living creature with so much to discover about myself
Hmm.
and so much to discover about the people I love.
Mm-hmm.
What an honor. What an incredible honor. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end it. I'm going to give it back over to you.
I don't know what I'm gonna say to that.
All right, good. It's 9:57, so it's all right. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, I do. I have to say something. I'm the host.
No, we could just wave. And...
Just wait. Yes, we just wave and be done. Yeah.
I was kidding.
Hatsu, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you for this topic. Stream until 10:01. Okay, you got it.
All right.
We'll stream until 10:01. It's gonna be awesome. Actually, you know what? Because, this we do this show Don't Worry Wednesday, and it's great. We love hanging out with you guys. And if you have a topic that you'd like to share, you'd like us to talk about, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and fill out the form, and we'd be happy to do your topic. And just let us know that you're a human.
That's right. Put it down.
Yep. I know sometimes people like to claim that they're not human, but that's one of the things, like, hey.
It messes with our papers.
Hey, yep. I'm a human.
Or sorry.
You're human. Yeah, just smile and wave, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would love to do your topic. And so feel free to share if you've got something that you're going through, or even if it's just something, random that you'd like to hear us talk about. We've come across those, and those are sometimes some of the most fun topics, right? When it's just a random thing and you get to hear us spout about it. One thing I am going to spout about is our upcoming releases that are coming out. Oh my gosh, we got some amazing stuff coming. We've got a release this Friday coming from Taylor Anderson, but this, like I said, is from Jono. He and I have collaborated on some stuff, and the first single is coming out this Friday, so that's going to be exciting. Then a single duel next Friday. That's my band with Steve. We've got a new song that's maybe a bit controversial that's going to come out. It's going to be cool. And then after that is a Static P release for you guys, because I know you guys want to hear a Static P release.
I'm sorry, Hayden. I'm sorry to trouble you so much with all of the new music.
I
didn't mean to make you go feral.
Yes,
much,
there's more Static P music coming out. Right now, it's kind of we're kind of taking it in 3 weeks, so every 3 weeks there will be a new Static P release. Every 3 weeks there will be a new single dual release. Every 3 weeks there'll be a new Jono Taylor or Taylor Anderson release. And we're just kind of taking turns right now until we get up to speed. And I'll tell you what, Ryan's been surprising the heck out of me.
Nah.
Actually, no, you're not surprising the heck out of me.
You know me, man. You're not surprised.
I'm not surprised, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Because stuff's moving forward. And yeah, we've got stuff coming out. And so, yeah, there's it's going to be cool. So the AI generated Joe song better be a Static P song.
Yeah, the one you worked on. No, I better do. Hey, the AI worked on it, so.
At this point, no, the Joe song is not one of the releases at this point. We're basically plowing through a bunch of stuff that's multiple years old. A lot of stuff that's been almost done for a long time that we're just like, hey, you know what? Why don't we just finish this and put it out? It'd be a great idea, wouldn't it? And so like the song that's coming out next Friday by a single duel, that song is 23 years old.
Whoa. Nice.
Or maybe 22.
It's almost as old as you. It's almost as old as you, Joe.
I know, right? I wrote it when I was 6.
No, you wrote it when you were 29. Don't lie to us.
That's right. Joe song. A song about your everyday Joe and the trial and tribulations of midday traffic. Ooh,
Ooh.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yep.
Ah, midday traffic. I was just experiencing some of that, but with extra snow on top.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that makes it way extra fun.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah, I was slipping around.
extra snow equals extra fun.
That's right. Yeah, and extra cold and extra pain.
Extra pain, extra cold, extra sliding around, extra all that.
Unless your car is really warm and toasty inside, and then you're really happy that they made cars with heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yep. I like cars with
Oh,
heat in the
sorry.
winter.
Shoot. It's 10:02.
Hey, we made it till past 10:01.
There we go.
Ta-da! All right. Cool. Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Ash Wednesday. You guys, oh, now you're angry for being a minute over. Oh,
I
I'm
knew
so
it. I knew it.
sorry. I'm so sorry, but I still love you. But
That's
yep,
great.
so join us next Wednesday, and we'd love to spend this time with you again. So until then, have a wonderful, wonderful week. And we could not do this show without you guys and your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank
And
you all very much.
again, don'tworrywednesday.com if you want to submit a topic. And we'll see you next week right here on Don't Worry Wednesday. Till then, take care. We love you guys.
Bye-bye. Love ya. Peace.